Ooh, that looks tasty. Join the Quest Kids' brave team of young heroes as they explore the magical Tulk's Cave. During their adventure, the team will find treasure, scare away monsters, complete quests, and discover other magical items, all while helping their fellow Quest Kids out along the way. Welcome, folks. Today, The Hungry Gamer is back with another Kickstarter preview. And today, we are talking about The Quest Kids, a game designed by Dustin McMillan, with art by Apolline Etienne and published by Treasure Falls Games. Now, this is a pseudo dungeon crawler made for children around the age of 5, 6, or 7. In other words, it is a game to introduce young kids to the idea of a dungeon crawler game. Now, if you are not particularly interested in how the game plays, then you want to jump ahead to the timestamp that's on the screen right now. Alright, for those of us still here, let's do a quick rundown of how this game works. And as you'll see, this is actually a very big board, so I'm going to have to move the camera around a little bit to show you everything. The game itself is a competitive game, but it's a competitive game that encourages helping each other. And the first thing that you're going to do is each player will select one of the 4 Quest Kids. There are 2 fighters, a wizard, and an archer. And you'll kind of see what the board looks like here. And I'll use this to show you in a little bit how it all works. And so what I've done is I've chosen Skylar, this fighter here, and Crash, this wizard. Now, all of the characters play exactly the same. The exception is that they start with a different resource each. So Skylar starts with a strength card and Crash starts with a magic card. And then in addition to that, each player starts with a single quest that they're working on. And should they ever, at the end of their turn, have this completed, they will complete this quest and it will go on to their player board just in the completed quest area. And so you'll see that I have Crash there, has to have 7 total ability cards, and Skylar has to have 2 Quest Kid cards in her hand, and she'll gain 3 stars. And I'll explain those in just a minute. Now, the game itself is extremely simple. What you're doing is you are moving around through this dungeon and you are exploring different tiles, and the tiles will either have resources that you find or they will have a monster that you have to deal with. And if you have to deal with a monster, you're not actually killing the monster, you are just scaring it away. And I will show you how that works in just a second. There are also these kind kid cards, and any time that you come up against some kind of monster that you're dealing with, you can ask for help from your teammates. And everything is encountered simply by discarding these different cards. You have magic cards, strength cards, and wisdom cards. And you find those on the tiles. And at any time, if you just don't have quite enough resources to beat one of the monsters and scare it away, you can always ask for help from another player. That player can give you some of their resources. And for every resource they give you, they get a kind kid card. And these cards can be played at any time that you want. Some of them are just worth stars, and stars are how you win the game at the end. It might be health bonus. Look at any unexplored dungeon tile, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So the gameplay itself is very simple. You start out and you simply have one of the heroes, whoever goes first, they step off onto the first tile. I will tell you that gray tiles are the easiest, green tiles are the medium, and the red tiles over here, those are all the really hard ones. The game will end when all of the tiles have been explored, and then the player with the most stars is the winner. So we'll have Skylar here step forward onto this tile. And we'll see, it's just a simple resource. Skylar gains 2 magic cards, 1 and 2. And see, I'll grab those and I'll put those down on her player board. And she also gains a treasure. And then I discard this card because it's not something that I fought. So I'll take that, I'll discard it over there. And then I'll go to my treasure bag here, and I will reach in and grab a treasure. There's my treasure. And you'll see that I got a little sack of gold, which is worth half a star at the end of the game. But if I happen to be the ranger, it's worth a whole star. And I'll just take that and put it down on my player board. Then Crash gets to explore any tile orthogonally adjacent to an explored area. So Skylar's there, and we'll go ahead and send Crash right here and see what he finds. And he found 2 magic. Nice and simple, and I'll discard that, and I'll grab 2 magic cards. Then Skylar gets her turn, and she'll explore over here. And she got 3 magic and another treasure. And so I would grab that and her treasure, and so on. You see how the exploration works. Now, let me show you the other couple kinds of cards that you might flip over. So this card here, Empty Belly. Your players or your heroes are dealing with empty bellies. Well, in order to defeat this tile, you have to discard a magic and 2 wisdoms. And again, you might get those from your fellow players and they get kind kid cards. But if you manage to discard all of this, then you will actually take this tile and put it down onto your board right here, because at the end of the game, that's where you'll be counting all of those up. So we'll say that Skylar defeated that, so she goes there. And you'll also see that the monsters, like the Goblin Girls here, you can scare them away in the same way. Now, if for some reason you can't do it, and let's say Skylar here had somehow flipped that over and went onto it, she could not defeat it, well then she would lose 1 health. And you'll see that at the end of the game, health is actually worth stars. Now the other thing you might find are these gems. And you're in Tulk's Cave, so you're actually looking for these gems ostensibly. And for this, you would need 2 magic, and then you would gain this gem, which is worth 3 stars. Now, it's important to note that another player could not give you the magic in return for kind kid cards. You can only do that when you are facing a monster of some sort. And then, so if you happen to do this, you would take this card and get the big old gem. Now, I will say, I am not sure if these gems are coming with the actual game or these are just potential stretch goals, but in any event, you would get this and put that over with your player board. And so that's it. That's the game. Once everything has been revealed, then you would wind up totaling up who has the most stars. Whoever has the most stars is the winner. So what do I think about this game? Well, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and remind everybody that this is a game intended for 5, 6, 7-year-olds to kind of introduce them to this idea of the dungeon exploration as you're going through. And I'll kind of reveal some of this map here so you can see what it looks like. And so with that in mind, I think there's actually a lot to like about this game. I work with young kids enough and have played enough games with kids to have a decent idea of their likes and dislikes. First of all, everything about just the art here is great. All the kids look like normal kids that you might find in school, and they're just a lot of fun. They're neat. They're a little bit different, but not different enough that it's going to be confusing for kids, and it's all just very, very simple. And I think that's really important, because if you're going to introduce young kids to this, it has to be simple. The next thing I'll say is all the artwork is wonderful, and it's wonderful because it is big, it's simple, it's boldly colored, it's boldly drawn, and it grabs the eye. It's just perfect, I think, for young kids. Now, at the same time, as you have these big player boards here, it has enough of the elements that you get with a dungeon crawler to really introduce kids to the genre of game. And I think that's a really great thing for gamers who have kids, because you're not going to introduce your 5-year-old to Gloomhaven, but you could start with something like this, and then when they get a little older, introduce them to it if you want it. And I like all of it. I like the way that these quests work. It gives you something that you're trying to pursue, and it's different for each player. And I really, really like this idea of the kind kid card, because it's telling these kids that no, you got to work together, but at the same time it's recognizing that for the most part kids want to win. And so you're working on your own to win the game, but you're still helping each other. And of course, by helping each other, you might be leading yourself to victory because some of these cards are actually worth a significant amount of stars. And I think that's very, very cleverly done. I think the board itself, if this was a game for someone my age, it's way too big, but it's not. It's for kids, so I think the oversized feeling of it is really a cool thing. I will also add in that while my prototype here has these standees, the final versions are actually going to have, I don't know what they call them, but action figures basically that are going to be really large, and you'll be able to move the arms and pose them and so on, and be able to move them around the dungeon there. And I think that's just going to be perfect for kids. At the same vein, I hope these gigantic gems are part of it as well, because these are just fantastic. I enjoyed playing with these, and I can only imagine that kids would love it as well. I think the way that the treasure is done is great. This little bag, you're reaching in, you're trying to see what you can find. I think the kids will really enjoy that. And at the same time, I like the way that it's done to where it shows that some characters will have more use from some items, which again kind of leads into the idea of most dungeon crawlers, that some items are better for others, and it adds to a little bit of the fun as they're reaching in there and drawing and trying to get something that's good for them. So I do enjoy all of that. And then the last thing I'm going to point out is this here. Now what these are is these are a campaign mode. And I'm not going to show you everything that's in here, but when you open these, what you have inside is you have various tiles that you'll replace certain of the tiles that are out there with, and it's very specific. And then you have these treasure cards. And as you go through, and the book tells you which one you start with, which one you read, but as you go through, it has lots of story on there, and it will tell you which cards you have access to. And as you play through the series of missions, you're slowly learning a bit of a story, and I think it's a really neat little addition to the game, and really kind of gives those vibes of Gloomhaven and so on. And I think overall it's just a wonderful addition to have. And again, this prototype only has 3 envelopes. The actual game will come with significantly more. So let's move on to the quibbles that I have with this game. And I have to say that I don't really have any quibbles with the game as long as you are keeping in mind who it is for. It's for 5, 6, 7-year-olds. And so I think with that in mind, it really is well done. I will say that there are a lot of these tiles, and the setup might be a little daunting to do with a young child, and it does cover up all of the fun art that is on the board as I kind of clear that away a little bit. And I don't know that there's anything to be done about that, and that is the quibbliest of quibbles. And I think if you have kids who like fantasy and you enjoy playing dungeon crawlers, I think this game is a can't miss. I think it's got everything in it that leads towards these ideas of how to play a good dungeon crawler. I think it's just across the board really well done, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to check it out. I have several friends who have younger kids who I hope to get to share this with them. So there you have it, folks. That is the Quest Kids. If you have kids 4, 5, 6 years old, you like dungeon crawlers, then definitely check this out. If you're an adult and you don't have kids, this is not the game for you, so probably don't back it. As always, if I made any errors and you are familiar with the game, please let me know so I can get them into the Klingon subtitles. And as always, thank you so very much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.